My name is Isabelino Vazquez Rodriguez. I was born in Humacao, Puerto Rico. I entered the service in November 1950, and I went to Korea in April 1951.
And did you enlist or were you drafted?
I was drafted from the University of Puerto Rico.
Okay. And how old were you whenever you were drafted?
When I was drafted, 19 years old.
19. Wow, so young. What did you think? Did you know the draft was coming? Did you know like what was going on in Korea at the time?
When I enlisted, I was in the University of Puerto Rico. I also played baseball in Puerto Rico. And I didn't know much about the geography of Korea, where Korea was at that time.
What did you think about being drafted? Were you nervous at all?
I don't have no problem with it. All my family being in the service. As a matter of fact, we had three with me at the same time.
Oh wow, so your family wasn't too shaken up or anything
No,
whenever
we
you were
are
drafted?
accustomed to it.
And what branch were you drafted into?
I was infantry.
Infantry. And what unit or rank?
I went to the 15th Infantry Regiment, which is part of the 3rd Infantry Division. And I was a rifleman.
A rifleman.
In
That
this-
was your specialty?
Yeah, infantry.
All right. And you said you left for Korea in 1951. Where did you fight in Korea?
When I arrived in Korea, we were fighting around the city of Seoul. That's when we have the American Army moving forward.
And for how long in total were you in Korea?
I stayed in Korea until June 1952. So I was actually 15 months in Korea in the war.
So you I'm sorry, did you say that you did or you did not know about Korea? Did you know where it was whenever you
No,
found
I didn't
out?
know anything about the geography of Korea.
What was your reaction to the news of the Korean War outbreak? Did that frighten you at all?
We heard a little bit about the news. You go back to 1950 in Puerto Rico, we didn't have all the commodity that you have in the United States. So we have radios, we didn't have television, okay? Mm-hmm. So the news were very limited about country other than the United States or, our own country of Puerto Rico.
Whenever you arrived into to Korea, what was your first impression of the country?
When I went to Korea, first we had to go to Japan to have infantry training there. And then from Japan, we went to Korea. And if we are talking about the population of Korea, but the first thing that I was really impressed, or the first thing that I saw was the number of civilians that were moving from the north toward the south because of the war. Mm-hmm. And it's not easy to see a lot of civilians, women, children, dying in combat there. So that's something that always bothered me. As a matter of fact, I did write a book about Korea.
You wrote a book?
Yes, and I'd be glad to send you people one copy. You give me
Yeah,
your
definitely.
address before I leave.
What is your book called?
Excuse me?
What is your book called?
My book is called Proud to be an American.
When did you write this book?
Oh, it's been now 2 years. But the people here should have copy. I left a lot of copy here, but I can send you or somebody else a copy.
We'd like that for sure.
Yeah, you give me an address, and that tells you a little bit more about who I am and what I done. And it covers both the Korean War, it covers also the Vietnam War, because I was in both of them.
Oh.
I was a Special Forces soldier. I was a commander in the Special Forces.
In Vietnam?
Yeah. And also in the 101st Airborne Division. was the commander of Charlie Company.
Tell me the places that you were at in Korea. Where were you stationed?
We were in a station. We went to Seoul, and we just had the offensive going all the way to the Yalu River. Mm-hmm. And then from there, remember, the Chinese entered the war, and we had to withdraw back to certain area. Mm-hmm. And then we eventually went back to the 18 parallel. That's where the whole thing was kind of stopped or finished.
How are the living conditions as far as like sleeping, food?
So you're just sleeping where you can on the ground. There is no station or mm-hmm. building or anything like that. You're just in the open all the time.
How is the weather?
Bad. Korea is probably the coldest place that I have been ever, other than Alaska.
Wow. How was the food? Like, what were you eating?
How eating?
Mm-hmm.
We eat rations. Those are the rations that come in cans.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
provided through the military.
Yeah.
Do you recall how much you were getting paid?
What was that?
How much you were getting paid at the time?
Pay?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it wasn't much of pay. I made about $50 a month on those days. And they pay you with some kind of paper type money that is not the regular money. It's something that you can substitute and you can exchange at a later date.
Did you exchange letters with your family and friends while you were in Korea? Were you able to write home?
Well, not that much.
Mm-hmm. And how was your relationship with foreign troops, including Korean soldiers?
Well, we have Korean soldiers attached to our units. I have, the way my unit was set up, we have one platoon of Korean soldiers attached to us. And we also have a group of civilians from Korea that used to assist us with bringing up the ammunition, so on and so forth and stuff like that. So the relationship between Korea and the military was very close.
What were some of maybe the most difficult or dangerous, happiest, rewarding memories that you recall from your duty?
In Korea, you were in danger all the time because you were fighting not only the North Korean, you were fighting also the Chinese. And basically, we were outnumbered, like we say, probably 20, 25 to 1.
Were you in any serious battles, possibly, or were you wounded?
Yeah, when I first to Korea, we have 51 soldiers in my platoon. When I finished at the 18 parallel, we have only 11 people left in my platoon, and a total of 41 people left in the whole company. So there was not that many people left. I started as a private, and I was a platoon leader by the time we get there because I was one of the few people alive.
What was the impact of the war after you returned home? How did it impact you?
It really did not impact me that much. When I came from Korea, I got out from the service and I went back to play baseball. That's what I used to do before I went to the service. I played both in the university and I played Class A in the United States. So I went back to the University of Puerto Rico. And then by that time, I didn't feel that I was in the best physical condition that I was before I went. So I decided to come back into the military.
So you re-enlisted and then
you
were sent to
You
Vietnam.
have a total of 90 days to decide where you want to stay or you want to leave. I came back in about 20-25 days I came back.
Have you been back to Korea?
Oh yeah, I've been to Korea. I started in Korea in 1974. I was on the DMC. I was the command sergeant major for the 4th Brigade. I went all the way from the rank, from a private all the way to a captain. I retired from the military as a captain in the special forces.
Congratulations. I have a question for you. In 2013, we witnessed the 60th anniversary of the armistice, which was signed by China, North Korea, and the UN
Yeah.
on 7/27. There's no war in modern history that has lasted 60 years after an official ceasefire. What do you think that we have to do to put a closure on it?
That's very difficult to put a closure. You cannot remember what you saw there. I mean, you can never forget those. You can try, but to put a closure, I don't think that's something that is feasible.
Would you support a kind of movement to petition to end the war officially and replace the armistice with a peace treaty?
I'm a very realistic person. I don't think that when you are dealing with a country like North Korea, that you are going to be able to do anything, whether to the point that you can trust the North Korean to sign, some kind of treaty and abide by them. As you can see at the present time, we still have a bad relationship with North Korea. I don't think that will ever change. I doubt it. We can try, but I don't think we will be successful on that.
What do you think the legacy of the Korean War veterans and the Korean War possibly are? Like, what's important to remember or to know?
Well, it's many things that you remember about Korea. The thing that I remember the most, and I wrote about it, is the number of civilians. And that includes women, children, old people that died during that war. That's not simple. That's very difficult, and the destruction, unless you have a war in a country, and especially in the United States, we haven't had a war here since the Civil War, so the people in the United States don't know what destruction is all about. The people in Korea know what destruction is all about, because they lost everything they have. Many people die unnecessarily. You just don't forget those things.
And I mean, the Korean War is sometimes called more of well, at the time it was called a police action. It wasn't a war.
It wasn't a police action. It was a real war in Korea. We lost I believe it was about 57,000 people, soldiers killed in Korea. So you don't call that a police action.
In your opinion, the Korean War is often referred to as the forgotten war. In your opinion,
It is
why do you think
it's the forgotten war.
Why do you think, or how do you think it's got that title?
You don't see too many books from the United States that talk about Korea. And when you bring the politicians don't talk about Korea as a war. They talk about the First World War in 1918, actually started in 1970 for the United States, the Second World War in 1940. But they don't talk about Korea as a regular war. It's just about a police action. That's the way the politicians feel about it. That's not the way the soldiers who were in Korea, who died in Korea, feel about it. That's a big difference.
Can you tell me a little bit more about what your responsibility was during the Korean War while you were stationed there?
During the war, I was in the infantry. I was an infantryman initially because of the casualty that we suffered. I became a squad leader. Then I became a platoon sergeant, and eventually I was the platoon leader for the platoon. There was not too many people left from Korea.
Whenever you returned home from Korea, did you talk about the war at all with anybody in your experience?
I don't talk about the Korean War that much. When I came here to Colin, I joined, because I was a veteran, I joined the Korean War chapter here. Of course, I decided to write a book about Korea, and I went ahead and wrote a book about Korea. The reason I wrote a book, because I wanted the people to understand what Korea was all about, and to understand the geography of Korea, to understand the importance of Korea, and our friendship with the Korean people. That is important to me. very important to me.
Do you have any sort of messages or anything that you'd like to share with younger generations? Do you feel that it's important for younger generations to know what happened in Korea and the sacrifices made?
It's very important for the people in the United States to know a little bit more about Korea. To be honest to you, the United States and the politicians don't know much about Korea. In my country, Puerto Rico, everybody knows about Korea because we are a small country, but we provided more soldiers to the Korean War than any state in the United States except for Texas. Texas provided more soldiers than we did, but my little country provided the second more soldiers that any state ever did.
About how many? Do you know?
We provided 100,000 soldiers for the First World War, and we provided about 50,000 soldiers for the Korean War. 50,000 soldiers. Just about every student during my time in Puerto Rico participated in the Korean War.
Do you happen to know about how many returned home out of that 50,000?
I just taking a guess, looking at the company. We lost an average of, a company basically have 251 soldiers at that time. I was in a different unit than most Puerto Ricans. The Puerto Ricans have their own regiment. The 65th Infantry was a regiment from Puerto Rico. For some reason, which I still don't know, I didn't go to the Puerto Rican regiment. I went to the 15th Infantry Regiment, American regiment. So in the 15th Infantry, we lost about 50% of the troops. Now, my two cousins, they went to the Puerto Rican regiment, the 65th. They lost about 60% of the troops in the regiment.
What was probably the most dangerous battle that you were engaged in?
Well, we have what we call Bloody Ridge in Korea. That's one of the most important battles that we have in there. That was kind of a zigzag where you go forward and then the Chinese attack and you withdraw and then you go back. And so I would say that Bloody Ridge, and that's the reason they call it Bloody Ridge, that's where most of the people die.
How long did that particular battle go on
That
for?
particular battle was, I would say, was months, because when I was in the 15, I went to that hill. We attacked that hill, we took that hill, and we defended that hill. Then we left, and the 65th Infantry, that's the unit from Puerto Rico, they took over. But they were pushed out of there.
Where was this at?
This is Bloody Ridge.
Do you remember what part of Korea this was in now?
Oh, we were just below the Yalu River.
Yeah.
It was what we call the no man's land. You had the 18 parallel, remember? I don't know if you remember, but the 18 parallel, we were on the southern portion, and the Chinese were on the northern portion of the 18 parallel. And then when you have a stretch of land, which didn't belong to anybody, but the Chinese come into it, and we come into it because it was a strategic situation where we wanted to have the best advantage during the armistice, which never came about, but during the agreement. So we go in and take some of the ground in the no man's land, and the Chinese do the same thing, and we just fight back and forth. And you have a series of hills like the Iron Horse and the Bloody Ridge, which is the one that I remember the most, and several areas in there. But it was a no man's land, that's what they call it.
Do you recall probably about how many battles you were engaged in?
Well, I was in battle from the time that I arrived until the time that I left. And even when I left the 15th Infantry, but I could not go home unless I wait for the people from Puerto Rico that were living during that time. So I went to the 65th Infantry, and I had to be there for about 30 some days. And during those days, we just continued the fight. As a matter of fact, I went back to the Bloody Ridge until I joined the G Company, 65th Infantry.
So you said that you were drafted in November of 1950,
Right.
and then you left in 1952. So you served 2 years.
I served 15 months in Korea. I left Korea in June 1952. I went to Korea in April 1951. I was drafted in 1950, November 1950.
Okay. And then you're drafted, and you were sent to Korea in 51.
Correct.
Gotcha.
We took basic training in Puerto Rico.
Is there any other stories or messages or anything, memories that you'd like to share to preserve your legacy to kind of sum up this interview?
You're talking about Korea or? Well, about Korea, really, I was a young guy, 19 years old. You don't know much about anything. The only thing that we knew about Korea was, you are a soldier, you just go forward, you fight, you attack, you defend, you withdraw. And when your time comes, then you go out. Even as a platoon leader, I was still the young man. I didn't know more than the other people to begin with, because I didn't have that much training, I didn't have that much experience. We were just young kids, everybody in there. So I didn't know much about it. Now, until I became a platoon leader, I knew a little bit better, because I was in charge of the few people we had left. So I had to do my best. But I didn't really knew how to be a soldier or anything about the military after Korea. I went to Vietnam. In Vietnam, I was the operation sergeant for Special Forces Detachment. Later on, I became a commander. I went to Vietnam 3 times. The last time I was the company commander for the company on the 101st Airborne Division. So you can see by that time I was very familiar with what the Army was all about.
So you were drafted. What do you think about the draft? Do you think it's something that maybe we should incorporate and kind of bring back? Or, what's your personal opinion?
We come to the point here where the people, especially politicians, will debate whether drafting is important versus having the people come as volunteers. My personal feeling is that everybody should be drafted into the military. Everybody should serve at least 2 years in the military, so that you know what being in the military is all about, so that you are ready, if you are called to participate in a war, that you will know something a little bit more. We didn't know anything when we came in. But everybody in the country should have that experience. If you know about Israel, everybody in Israel served in the military for at least 2 years. Then they go out back to the civilian life.
And do you think that what we're doing here with the Korean War Legacy Foundation and interviewing veterans is necessary and important?
It's important for the people to know about not just only Korea, but to know about every war, to know about the First World War, to know about the Korean War, to know about the Second World War, to know about the Vietnam War, and now we are involved in Iraq and Afghanistan. It's important for the young people to know everything about those wars. It's not easy, it's not simple, but this is something that you have to do, because it's better to fight a war away from the United States in the enemy land than to fight a war in your own land. That's something that people need to know, especially high school and college people. When you fight a war in the United States, you have destruction and everything on the civilian population. just about everything you can imagine. So you don't want to fight a war here in the United States. You want to be able to fight outside. And you want everybody, not just the poor people, to be drafted into the service. You want everybody to be drafted. The poor, the rich, the people with education, the people with limited education. Everybody should have experience of that. This is the country. Everybody should be able to defend the country. I defend my country. I do everything for my country. I don't care what is it. That's the way I feel. And that's the way the people in my country, in Puerto Rico, feel about it.
When did you move to the United States from Puerto Rico?
I came to the United States because I was a baseball player, so we play in the United States. I came to North Carolina when I started playing when I was 16 years old. So I came from Puerto Rico. I played in North Carolina, Fayetteville, North Carolina, and I played baseball in Knoxville, Tennessee. But then when the war started, I was called back to enter the service, and that's when I went to basic training, and eventually I went up in Korea.
And I guess kind of my last question for you. Is there any underlying differences in the military in Puerto Rico versus the military in the United States as far as training or anything goes?
No, there is no difference because we belong to the American Army, remember? Puerto Rico is a Commonwealth. It's part of the United States. Mm-hmm. The only difference between Puerto Rico and a state, let's say a state like Texas, is like in Texas, everybody can vote for the president and the member of the Senate and the House. In Puerto Rico, as a Commonwealth, you cannot vote. You have all the privilege and everything as they have in the United States, except you don't vote for the president or the member of Congress.
It's interesting.
Here, because I'm in the United States, I can vote for the president, I can vote for anybody that I want to.
Right.
In Puerto Rico, you cannot. You have a Commonwealth, they have the same outline, where they have a Senate. In Puerto Rico, they have a House, the same legislative branch, the same branches you have in the United States, executive, legislative, judicial branch. But we don't vote for the President of the United States.
Interesting.
And that's bad, because we put a lot of solid in the United States Army. I think we earn the right to vote for anybody.
Why do you think that is?
Huh?
I didn't know that. So why do you think that is? Like why can you not vote?
Because the people who can vote in the United States for all the branches, the president of the United States, are only the states of the United States, the 50 states. The Commonwealth, they cannot. Hawaii finally became a state, so now they can vote for the president of the United States. Puerto Rico don't want to become a state. The people were asking a referendum. They say no. They prefer to stay as a Commonwealth. Okay. So we basically get all the privilege except that. And the only way that we will ever be able to vote for the president is to become a state. But I don't think the people in Puerto Rico will vote for that. They prefer to stay as they are.
All right. Is there anything else that you would like to share to preserve your legacy?
No, I'd like to say thank you, and you give me your address, I send you a book.
I would love to do that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you to you too.
All right.